Hello, I'm Cati the Blonde in front, and welcome to Women in Horror with the horror miser Monty G.
Y'all ready for this? Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the horror miser Monty G. Hey, horror fans! Once again, it is me, the horror miser Monty G. I'm continuing my series with women in horror, and I have a very special guest. Somebody that I met with my good friend Mark, the movie man, in the the spoiler room. She has a YouTube channel called The Blonde in Front. Her name is Cati Glidewell. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Glidewell.
Glidewell, yes, yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, first of all, just in case some people might not know who you are, some of my subscribers might know you. Just explain who you are and what your channel is.
I am the blonde in front. During screenings, I usually sit in the front row, and I am blonde. This is newly blonde. It had grown in. I had a little bit of cancer last year, so I went through the bald in front, the buzzed in front, and now I'm back to the blonde in front. But I'm always front and center of movies. I review all films, but my love is always for horror, and I go to horror conventions and genre film festivals, and then I also record the Q&As during screenings with the directors and with different talent that's at the Q&As after films, and post those on my YouTube channel, which is The Blonde in Front.
Oh, yes, yes. Yeah, but if you're not subscribed to Katie's channel, I will have a link to her description of her channel in the description box below, so you can check her out and subscribe to her channel. Now, obviously, my first question to you, Katie, is have you were aware of the fact that there was this grassroots organization called Women in Horror?
Yes, very much so, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, it's amazes me because when I first saw this and I decided, say, you know what, that's something good because I think women should be celebrated for what they have done in front of the camera and behind the camera, any aspects women have done in horror. Because without women, we would not have horror films. Now,
We would not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Katie, one of my first questions I always asked is, out of all the genre of films, why horror? I mean, what makes you get into horror of all genres of films?
Horror has been something that is a childhood love of mine. I used to stay up late and watch horror movies with my dad, and then if he was working, my mom would watch horror movies with me. She would actually like cover her eyes, but she would watch them with me. No matter what. And it's always one of the things I love about horror, especially, it's that is the genre that is always evolving. It's always
Mhm.
changing. It's moving forward. It's actually can even move backward and still evolve. And I always love that it has political aspects to it. It has morality aspects to it that are brought up in ways that many different genres of films aren't really open to doing in the way that they do it. And I mean, there's just so many subgenres of horror that other genres don't have. Like, I mean, I'm a sci-fi girl. I'm the
Mhm.
slasher girl. I'm all about a final girl. I'm all about kind of like in Cabin in the Woods.
Mhm.
The white washboard where it has all the different
Yeah, it
people
has
that
all the
that's
yeah.
that's me. I mean, check all those boxes of how it's like I love vampires, I love werewolves, I love ghosts, I love everything and all of it, as long as it's done well, as long as characters are done well, even if they're dumb, if they're done well dumb. It's just something that I've always loved and I always continue to love.
all right, yeah, yeah. Because I find it fascinating when, since I've been doing this, most of the women I've interviewed always said that they started in their childhood when it comes to horror film, which I kind of find it fascinating, especially for women, because you would not think that a girl would actually want to gravitate toward horror, and it's mostly it's either the parents because that kind of happened to me. My first horror film was watching Universal Monsters: The Mummy. I'm pretty sure most everyone knows that about me, and my mother thought that being in horror was too scared for me. But I had a morbid sense of humor even when I was a kid. You know, I did not watch any of the Disney classic animated films. That growing up, it was always horror for me. You sit me down and watch any horror film. That's what I was doing. Was not watching any of that Disney stuff.
See, and for me, it was everything. Like,
Mm,
I think my first, it's not horror, it's sci-fi, but my first film was Star Wars.
hmm
I was too little to actually not have the seat buck up, so my uncle had to like hold the seat down for me. I was like under 4 years old when I went and
mm,
saw that. And then, it's just different films. I loved it. Is very interesting though, because with the Friday Fright Nights and all that stuff, they're the films that I watch, and then when I watch them as an adult, it's like, oh yeah, they cut out a lot of stuff. Okay.
hmm
So I did not watch, and that's with any film, with those Friday night, like, or the special presentations, like watching Animal House back in the
hmm
day when they had it on in the 80s, and then watching it as an adult. I'm like, they cut out a lot of stuff that I did
Oh
not
yes.
understand. It's like, wow, okay. That is a brand new experience for me. And the same with Goonies. I didn't realize, I mean, and that's one of those things that I always tell my friends who are moms. And it's like, look, here's the thing. There's the film that we remember from our childhood. And then
hmm
there's the actual film that you need to watch, because if you don't want your little 3-year-old saying shit, 24/7, then you need to make sure that you watch that, because that's what happens. But one of the films that I loved, that was on a Friday night or Saturday, afternoon horror thing, was Squirm. About
Yeah, I saw
the
that.
Yeah, about the worms and all that stuff.
Hmm
That scared me to death. But it also, I also practiced getting in a little trunk to see if I could fit, in case, yeah,
The worm would come in.
and worms would like completely take over the lower level of the house. These are
Mhm.
things that I learned, and it's one of those things that I'm always the worst case scenario girl. I'll think of like 5 or 7 ways of how we can get out of situations when we're in them before we even get in them. So that's me. I'd rather be proactive than reactive.
Yeah, yeah. It reminds me of the time when Willard, the original Willard, came out in '72, and my mother took my brother and I to go see Willard. And my mother thought that I was gonna that was gonna be too scary for us, but I had no problem watching a bunch of rats.
See, and then they didn't have, I didn't see Willard, but they had a movie, and I don't know what it was called, but I remember that it was a rat that I think got together with a hamster or something in a townhouse, and then it had babies, and like the owners of the house killed the babies, and then the
hmm
rat went nuts. And I think like Peter Weller or somebody was in it. I don't know.
Mm.
This is, again, I forget. But these are movies that, it's like, special presentation movies that it's like, I don't know how
Oh,
special the presentation was.
and because they cut up all the good parts of the film, because I saw The Exorcist when it's in theaters, and when they finally broadcast it on television on CBS, of course they cut out all the good parts out of the movie. It still was pretty good watching mostly all the horror stuff, but all the good stuff they cut out. You know, Reagan cursing up the storm or masturbating with the cross, and all those good stuff. But it was still effective watching it out. But I think the most egregious dubbing was the Blue Brothers.
Oh,
You know.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I
Yeah.
ended up moving to Chicago. I think one of the reasons why was because of the Blues Brothers. But man, I mean, then when we ended up getting cable, I didn't, it was one of those things. And I always tell the story that we got cable. We were in the first cable families in our
Mhm.
neighborhoods. And since we were paying for TV now, I always say that in pop culture, I pretty much can nail anything with music and all that stuff. But once it comes to TV after 1984, I'm devoid of it because I was watching cable 24/7. And that includes watching Toxic Avenger, the one that was not edited at all, even on cable, and just laughing my butt off at some of those things. And that's always going to be like a core memory of my dad and I watching that when I was way too young to be watching this. I think I was still in like single digits, which it's like, look, I love them. Probably not the best parenting choice by having me watch that. At the same time, I've met Uncle Lloyd many times. I have that gift of sharing that, watching that whole film with my dad. And, it's something I would never change because it's just, I love it.
Yeah, which is pretty good because I think even though seeing something like that as a young person might not be appropriate, but at least you understand it is not real. It's all fantasy. I think that's one of the
Exactly.
aspects that I had when I was young was that I knew that what I was watching on TV was not real. So
Yeah.
I think that's one of the great things that we have. Watching some of the stuff that we saw when I was young, it's like, oh no, that's not real. That's nowhere in the world that's happening.
Well, and also it shows a lot of things with horror. It shows the um, like bad behavior that you don't want to replicate. It's like,
No, yeah.
anyone who watches horror and ends up wanting to be like the bullies in horror, it's like, okay, that's some psychological things. You need to go to therapy because it's like nothing about this should you be like, you know what? I want to be that guy. I want to be the one that puts that person in the toxic waste. Like that's my goal. It's like, no, that's not who you want to be. And see, this is why that person ends up getting what they get.
Okay, so my next question is probably going to be the meat of the question. What are your thoughts about how women have been treated in horror films all the way back from the damsel in distress until what we have right now when it comes to how women have been portrayed in horror films?
It's something that even a few years ago, it's still one of those topics that it's like, listen to the woman,
Mm,
has to be like, really drilled down in people's heads that it's like, if you would listen to the woman in the first place, the majority of these things wouldn't happen. And also, I mean, going back to like the 50s and 60s, I mean, one of the things I loved watching, I did a podcast or a vlogcast recently regarding the film Them. And
mhm,
in the film Them, you have a gentleman, older gentleman who's a scientist, and then his daughter is a scientist. And she continuously throughout the film has to drill in the guy's head. It's like, get out of my way, let me
mm,
do this because you guys don't seem to pay attention to what I'm doing. It's like, I know what I'm doing. And I was just watching before we did this, I was watching Humanoids from the Deep, and you have a very different roles of the women in that film. You have the women who are sexually violated and
mm,
gratuitous nudity and impregnated by the creature. And then you have the woman who is a scientist who, again, has to yell at how she is a scientist and get out of her way. And you guys are all idiots. It's like, I know what I'm doing. And that's one of those things that I want more movies where women don't have to be like, are you talking to me? Are you talking to the Nobel Peace Prize winner? Are you talking to the Nobel Prize winner, in all these different categories? And you're trying to like, oh, Missy, go over there and act pretty. Because it's like, it seems like that's still sort of a thing. I'm hoping it's not as much now.
mhm,
But still, there are a number of things where women are vocalizing their concern and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, it's all in your head. It's just, oh, don't worry about that. It's like, it'll be fine. It's like, well, you just need to go on a date. It's like, well, give that guy a chance, even though he's stalking you. It's like, it's really cute how he keeps, calling you and following you and doing all this stuff. It's like, no, these are all red flags. Like, these are all things that if this is in the normal world, you would not say, yeah, keep encouraging this very scary bad behavior.
mhm.
But you know, we have to have these women who are like, who basically have to like grab someone by the shoulders and like, listen to me. Don't do this. Don't go in that room. Don't say that incantation. Don't open that chest. You like, don't do all these things. And it's like, then finally it's like, you know what? I'm out of here. That's what I would love that. I would love that film. It's like, no, don't do that. It's like, well, I'm going to do this. Like, okay, I'm going to go to a hotel. I'm going to be back in 12 hours, maybe 24. I'll give you guys 24. I'm going to be back 24 hours. They come back. They open the door. They get splashed with blood. Everyone's done. And that person ends up being the final girl and getting all the accolades and all that stuff. It's like, well, I told them not to do it. And that's all you need to do.
Yeah, like there's so much. One of the ladies in the Evil Dead remake should have told that guy, "Don't read that." It says, "Don't read from the book," so that means don't read from the book. You goddamn idiot.
Yeah, it says they give you the instructions, like, don't do this. I mean, one of the things in Alien is like, you know, it's always the thing. It's like, listen to the woman with the cat. It's like if people had just listened to Ripley and done what they were supposed to do. Like, I'm sorry, John Hurt, you were going to die anyway, but you would have died outside, and there's all that. But
that. I know. I think one of the great things I actually did like about the Last of Us television adaptation in the second episode, when we get the flashback and we see, I think it was I forgot the town was in Indonesia. Their town, yeah, and the leading person was a woman. You know, they actually did respected her, and they actually we need to take a look at this. And he asked, well, what do we do? It's like, you're like, what do we do? And she says, bomb.
Yeah.
you got a bomb, and make sure you hit everybody in it. So I thought that was a great aspect that they actually did have a woman in that particular aspect of the show. So I really praise them for doing that. You know, they need to do that more.
I agree. I very much agree.
Okay. That actually kind of leads into my next questions is about the differences. Could you kind of explain it? Because we have differences between how women were treated as a damsel in distress as how they're treated now as the final girl. So I'm pretty sure, just like you said, you know, horror movies have evolved. I'm pretty sure that's something that horror films have done that other genre films don't do.
Well, I think one that really shows that is You're Next, where you have Sharni Vinson, and you know, she's taking, instead of just like waiting for them to come, she's like, okay, well, if this is what's going to happen, I'm going to use all of my knowledge, you know, of that I learned on this, like, kind of, I think she lives like in a cult kind of place that was also like sort of a prepper.
Yeah, it wasn't a cult. It was a survivalist camp.
Yeah,
he was always protecting the end of the world, so he taught her how to set up traps.
Yeah. So seeing her do that, and then her significant other being like, "What are you doing?" It's like, well, this is what I grew up with, and this is what I learned. And I'm like, I didn't know that. Is one of the things I would love to see more of, where you know, the surprises, like, people don't necessarily share everything when they're in a relationship, and to show the surprises that then benefit themselves and others, I think would be great. And especially in Sharni Vincent, I mean, you know, the little stuff with the board and the nails, I remember seeing that in different versions of what is it, Death Proof with Charles Bronson and stuff like that. So, and yeah, I think seeing more women doing that, but then also just not, you know, when you have a male counterpart that's like, you know, just shh, you know, it's like, it's going to be okay and stuff like that. It's like, don't shush me. It's like, and then I would like to see more stuff when it's like, if they are being shushed, being like, you know what, I'm out. It's like, if you're not going to listen to me, then why are we in this relationship? Like, because one of the movies I love is Watcher with Michael Monroe that came out in like 2022, 2023. Yes. And how she was very vocal about this guy staring at her in the window. And it's and how just no one would listen to her and stuff. It's like, oh, well, you're lonely, you're in a different country and stuff like that. I'm like, that doesn't mean that, I mean, people go on vacation all the time. They don't say that, a serial killer's following them just because they're in a different country and they're alone. That's a ridiculous thing that you would have to try and play out on a woman. And yet you don't see that when guys are in a different country and they say, well, something's going wrong and stuff like that. So
because in the Ritual, that movie, there was a whole bunch of guys, and we don't get any of that in that particular film. It's like when weird shit start to happen, we didn't get any of that. But you put a woman in that situation, all of a sudden it's like, oh my god, it's like, come on, I think that's one of the reasons why I love The Descent. That was a great movie because it was the all female cast, and they definitely explored something a whole lot different that we've seen. Like, say, if you can take The Descent and The Thing, and it's kind of basically the same movie. It's just that we just have, instead of an all male cast, we have an all female cast, and they're both decent horror films.
Yeah. Although they do the thing with in The Descent, I love The Descent with the all female cast, but then they also pit the women against each other because of a man and certain things with that. So it's like,
yeah, that's the only thing I didn't like was that we had to have the affair thing. I was like, come on now. How do you feel about the evolution that is going on when it comes to Final Girls, as opposed to when we obviously started off with Olivia Hussey and the original Black Christmas, all the way up to some of the Final Girls that we have right now?
I think again, it's getting it's more women standing up for themselves and not just running away and hiding in a corner. And that is something that I want to see more of. There's a film called Fresh.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah, one of my favorites, that also has an amazing friendship between women, and also women working together to try and help each other survive what is going on. And despite the fact that you may lose some appendages, you're still a fighter. You still have to think about, like, I'm not done. This is okay. I'm in a horrible situation. Horrible things have happened, but I can still get out of this and hopefully still help everyone else get out of it too.
Yeah, and that kind of brings me up. What do you thought about Companion?
Oh, I think Companion is one of the best made films of the year and is one of my favorites. One of the things, though, is that the only relationship that I didn't necessarily like was the one regarding the oligarch and his, mistress Kate and all that stuff. I mean, other than that, I thought it was great. And I love me some Jack Quaid. I love me some Sophie Thatcher. I love, the different roles that she's choosing right now. Some of the films I didn't necessarily, there was one that she did last year. Nothing against her. She was great. The film itself, I just didn't.
The Boogeyman.
Yeah.
She was great in that, because I had to say she was great in that, but I liked it was something, the story was not good, but she was good in that. Yeah, because and
I mean, it had an amazing cast. I mean, even with the smaller roles like David Dastmalchian, and I mean the cast was incredible and she was great. But yeah, nothing against her, but I mean that movie was it just could have been, I don't know, it was just very tired and different things.
Yeah, because I kind of expected more out of that film than what we got.
But I'll be honest, when one of the things I hate the most, it's becoming somewhat commonplace in films, is like when you have a movie where a significant other or parent died, and then you have people like a month later, it's like, well, I mean, they died a month ago. Can you get over that? And it's one of those things, it's kind of like a meme or a joke where you have the boyfriend. It's like, oh, you've been a real bitch since your mom died yesterday. It's like, and that's one of the things I'm really hating in horror right now. I mean, I'm not saying that people need to have, like, during certain times people don't know how to talk about, scary stuff or personal stuff, but I mean, people can't be that brain dead that they're going to think that it's like, oh, yes, this person, your mother or father died a month ago. You should be back at work and, all systems go and ready to, I don't know why you're still depressed. Like, what are you doing? I mean, that to me is one of the most, like, I don't know. It's just so ignorant for people to write it like that. And yes, there may be a lot of people who think that way. That doesn't mean it needs to be written that necessarily the majority of people think that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know why people like it. It kind of reminds me of Miss Summer, when the guy obviously not want to take his girlfriend out to the where they were going to because he was pissed off because she was still grieving about her family. But you have to understand, her sister killed herself and her parents. That was that came out of nowhere. So obviously she's still going to be grieving about it instead of being a dick. Be there for her. Be here for her, not just be pissed off about it.
Oh my God, Midsummer is such an example of like a bad relationship and all
Mm,
the red flags about narcissism and gaslighting and just putting, like you said, putting that, it's like, God, I mean, I can't believe you're still bummed about this. Well, my entire family died, so I'm
mm,
gonna be a little down for a minute.
Okay, let's see. You mentioned this earlier, but obviously it's going to be one of my questions. Do you feel that women were disrespected or objectified during the early slasher days when we had all that unnecessary gratuitous nudity? It's like you couldn't see a horror film or a slasher film without seeing a woman's breast or her butt. It's like, do you think they were being objectified or being just disrespected?
I do think they were being objectified, and
Mm,
I think that all of Hollywood was sort of objectifying women during that time. Here's an example that I always give. I remember seeing the movie Sheena with
hmm
Tanya Roberts.
Yeah, I
That
saw that too.
was 19 like 82,
Yeah,
83,
I
something
think it was
like that.
83. Yeah.
Full frontal nudity.
Yep.
Full frontal nudity, and it was PG.
hmm
Sometime I almost thought it was G because of the because I actually convinced my Sunday school class to go see that because it was a woman who
Ooh.
talked to animals.
Mm,
Yes, exactly. So it is a PG film, full frontal nudity multiple times throughout the film.
mhm,
Yet you have a film like The Piano, and it, talks, and it has Harvey Keitel's penis, and they're talking
mm,
about it being X. So it was one of those things like growing up that it's like, so you can show a full female body and it being totally okay because that's normal or it's no big deal, but then having a penis and it's like, oh my gosh, stay back, that's too
mhm,
much. And that to me was like, well, why? Like, I mean, look, I think the female body is beautiful and all that stuff,
mm,
but I mean, I think you're definitely putting us in a category that it's like, why are you putting like the male body then in this like higher category that we shouldn't be seeing this? And like, this is, oh no, that's too much. And
mhm,
I mean, growing up, thinking that, and I'm like, well, that's ridiculous. Like, um, and I mean, look, you can be a scientist, you can be a doctor, you can do all that and wear a bikini. I mean,
mhm,
there's nothing to do with intelligence. It's not having a rockin' hard bod, but it's the way that, as I was talking about the disrespect that you have the men in the film that don't take into account that it's like, oh, because you have nice legs, that means you can't have a brain, and that you
mhm,
always have to fight for your intelligence. That's something that I think has has been a thing. I mean, for decades, in horror and also in different films, but definitely, I feel like definitely in horror that yeah, anytime there's a woman who's in charge or has any semblance of intelligence, it's always met with like resistance, like, well, you can't look, little lady, or hey, sweetheart, why don't you just go over there and do this? It's like, yeah, one, I have a higher intel. I have my IQ was higher than you. 2, I probably make more money than you. And 3, why don't you shut the hell up and you sit over there while I figure this out and get us out of this trouble? Okay. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. But then it's always the woman has to be, you have to be like a hardcore, like, you have to be a hardcore bitch to even get that recognition. Because if you don't, like I said, if you don't shout from the rooftop that it's like, oh my God, I am smarter than you, let me do this so we can get out of this situation. It's like, wow, she's meh, 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 all that stuff. So it's like, you have to be likable, you have to be pretty, you have to be this. It's like, oh, but you can't be too pretty. It's very the Barbie situation, that it's like, you can't be too much and you can't be too little.
I know. I think one of the prime examples of that is Jennifer's Body. For some reason, instead of just going on the fact that this was a pretty good horror movie, the movie studios just promoted Megan Fox on the cover and just basically exploited the hot scene that her and Amanda Seyfried had, because they felt as though they only wanted adolescent boys to freak out seeing Megan Fox and Amanda Seyfried make out for about a good 10 minutes. And it's like, no, that's not the whole purpose of the film. The whole purpose of the film. It's like, that's the one reason I said, why did, it's like, but that's just a problem with some men sometimes. They only think about how good a woman looks, the physical side, not the what's inside that counts. And I really did, because I always say Jennifer's Body is one of my guilty pleasures because it's a decent horror film.
Oh yeah, I mean, directed by directed by Karen Kusama, and then written by Diablo Cody. I mean, it checks all the boxes. Like, and I mean, Amanda Seyfried has gone on to be nominated for an Oscar. I mean, Diablo Cody was nominated for an Oscar. I mean, yeah, it has so many things, and even the dialogue in it now. I look back at that and I'm like, this is just way before its time. Like, honestly, and the casting was incredible. But I mean, I'm an Amanda Seyfried girl, and also anything that J.K. Simmons is in, I think he usually, whenever he's in something, it's, even if the movie's bad, it's like, well, I loved it because of J.K. Simmons. So there's that too. But no, Jennifer's Body is fantastic.
Oh, yes. One of the few good roles Megan Fox has done. I won't talk about Subservient. Oh, no. What are your thoughts about some of the, I would say, like movies like I Spit on Your Grave and Revenge? Do you think that a male can write a film like that? Or do you think a female can do a better job of making films like such as those two films?
I think the biggest difference between those two films is that the circumstance that is the revenge is not overly exploited as it was in I Spit on Your Grave. In Revenge, you know what happens to her, but you don't need to see what happens to her. You don't need to see the pain and stuff that she experiences, and that degradation that she goes through when that happens. In I Spit on Your Grave, I mean,
it was a bit graphic. Well, though I think, because I don't know, did you see the original or the 2010 remake?
I saw the 2010 remake.
Because I actually thought that the 2010 remake was more graphic than the 72 original.
I saw the 2010 remake once. I saw the sequel once. I did not see any of the other ones and stuff like that. But it's one of those things that it's like, there's certain films that I feel like, especially directors who are male, they want to show that more to see what the woman is going for. So that's like, well, so that way the audience can really understand and all that stuff. It's like, yeah, you know what? You don't need to show that to let the audience really understand. It's the actress.
I think that we get the point. I don't think you need to show all of that right now. But I give Sarah Butler a lot of credit because that I'm pretty sure it was not easy what she had to what she had to do in that particular scene, and then walk around fully naked in the woods for about a good 5 to 10 minutes. So I give her credit for that. But I guess the reason why they did it that way is because they wanted to make sure, because how she gets her revenge. I think it's much more brutal as opposed to the '72 original film.
Okay.
Mm,
Well, and with the movie Revenge, like,
mm,
it wasn't only the gentleman that did what he did to her, it was then the people that helped him cover it up and like
hmm
ignore her, especially this person who's supposed to be, her significant other and stuff like that. And then when she speaks up, and then it's like, well, then maybe I'll tell your my thing, it's like, speak up, do what you do, but don't give away the fact that it's like, it's like, well, if you don't do this and I'm gonna do this, it's
hmm
like when she says I'm gonna tell your wife, because then it's like, just say, it's like, because, but there is a thing with Revenge where it's like she's cauterizing her wound, that where
hmm
she gets impaled,
hmm
that she cauterizes the front and then it somehow goes on to the back, which is like, that's not how medicine works. And the whole thing with the loss of blood and all that stuff. So it's like, look, I'm fine with the disillusion of belief on all that stuff. And at
hmm
least in Revenge, you don't even have the full uh female, you don't really have female nudity, but you do have the full male nudity, which
hmm
is different, which I mean that,
Yeah, I actually thought that was decent. I thought, Coraline, I think after how you pronounce her name, I thought that was decent. How she actually didn't show the woman being nude, but they actually showed the men being nude. And I said, well,
mhm,
that's a different answer. I like that part. Yes.
yeah.
Hmm. Okay, let's see. Do you think women directors of horror films are finally getting the respect that they deserve?
I I think they need to get more.
Hmm.
I And the reason being is that I feel like when there is women who have done exceptional horror films, and I actually wrote these down, like Laura Moss in Birth Rebirth, Mimi Cave in Fresh,
Hmm.
Chloe Okuno and Watcher, Nia DaCosta and Candyman. Of those women, only one has gone on to then or been offered a film by like Marvel and stuff like that. And I feel like with the male counterparts, they do one film that has gotten, good raves, and it's like, and you're going to go on and do, all these Godzilla movies or do all this. And I also feel like with Nia DaCosta, like, I mean, Candyman I thought was amazing, and then she did Marvels, and I actually liked Marvels, but I mean, before Marvels even came out, you have the whole uh media marketing thing that's like, oh, there's this, and this and this happened, and it's like that little those little ear mites that get in your ear. It's like, oh, it's gonna suck, before we even see the film, which
Hmm.
I don't feel like there are certain um men directors that get, I mean, believe me, there are circumstances that come out with different films. Like there's one right now, but
Hmm.
you don't hear about the director in a
No.
film that's out right now. You do hear about the two stars that are
Hmm.
both women, and it's like they're putting it more on them than on
Hmm.
the director. When
Yeah.
it's I feel like when it's a movie that's directed by a woman, there's more emphasis on the woman director than there is on a lot of other things. And I mean, it's whatever the machine is trying to kick out or trying to put down. I wish it would not, like, let things rise or fail for their own merit, and not try and kill them before they even get out there.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's actually a good point because unfortunately, and nothing against what's his name, Mark Webber.
Yeah, Mark
Yeah,
Webb.
yeah, nothing against him, but I think he deserves some blame for what's going on with Snow White. Because no, he's the one that made it. But all we're hearing is about Gal Gadot or Rachel Zegler. Nothing about, it's like, he did direct the film.
Yeah.
He made the choices of how this film looked, how the film looks, and how how the actresses played their role. So he deserves some blame as well. As well as especially the screenwriters as well. They deserve some blame too. Too. I think one of the prime examples when it comes to women's director is Mary Lambert because she gets no credit at all for Pet Cemetery. They
No.
talk about Stephen King and everyone else, but wait a minute, she did direct the film. Why don't you at least give her some credit? She did a great job, at the time with Pet Cemetery. It's like, but she gets no credit for that. And it's like that's so disrespectful.
Well, and that's like, sorry, I'm blanking. Isn't it Mary Herron who did American Psycho?
Yeah. She gets no
And
credit for that neither.
and again, you never hear anything about that. I mean, that is, I mean, that character, it's like, yes, it's based on a book, but it's like, it's because of the direction and the performance of Christian Bale. And it's like, that, I don't know. It's just, you don't hear that much of, and she's gone on to do different things and stuff like that. But Mary Herron made an amazing horror film and she doesn't get enough credit. I was actually on a podcast where we talked about women in horror and like who my 5 favorite female directors are, or the 5 favorite films that they've done. And I was like, which decade? It's like, for me to, squash that down into 5. I mean, look, not many people, I don't know, like with, there's not Sleepaway Camp. It's, there's 3 sequels and they were all directed by women and no one even thinks about that. And it's, and I'm totally blanking. I'm sorry.
Wow. Yeah, I was about to mention Sleepaway Camp, but yeah, I guess that's not it.
No. It's what's the one? The second one is with the driller killer that has nothing to do.
Oh, you're talking about oh darn it! Now my mind's drawing a blank.
I know. See.
Darn it, driller killer. Darn it. It's not Sleepaway Camp, and it's sleep massacre.
Yes.
Sleepover Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre.
Slumber Party Massacre.
All 3 of those are directed by women, and I also believe written by women and stuff like that. Now, do I understand how the Driller Killer like became a musical and like all that? Not really, but whatever. It went on, and people love it. But yeah, people completely ignored that's female directors that did that. And I mean, there's when, during that same podcast, when they're talking about female directors, like, I mean, I've got too many to mention in the in the 2010s, even the 2020s. There's so many that keep becoming, that keep, growing, which I love, but I just want, these directors to get their names out there. Cause it's like, that's how David Fincher got his start with Alien 3 and like, creepy videos. It's like, give these women the chances they deserve, because believe me, there's some crappy films out there. There's women that I know that are directors, like Lisa Ovies that did Puppet Killer. And I mean, these are women that, I mean, they're making these amazing films like Gigi Salguero, like, give them the franchise that they need to helm, because they deserved it and they've earned it.
Yeah, they deserve it. Like that's why I was so glad that Caroline was nominated for Best Director for The Substance, even though I knew she wasn't going to win. But I said, finally, a woman of a director horror film got some recognition. I said, that's what we need more of.
Oh, and that film, I mean, that was my number 1 film of the year. I love so many aspects about it. But speaking of that film and Snow White, I'm watching The Substance, and when the evil queen turns into the old woman, I was like, what is this? It's The Substance was not even a 10th of this budget, but these practical effects are crap compared to that. It's like, where are the Substance people? You guys should have come in here and done this. It's like, I'm disgusted. I'm also insulted. It's like that film like killed it in so many areas. And I didn't think it would win Best Picture, but the fact that it got nominated is huge. The fact that she got nominated for Best Director is huge. I did think Demi Moore should have won.
Oh yeah, I think Demi Moore should have won it because after the backlash that Emilia Perez got, for some reason people gravitated toward Nora, and it's like, why that film?
There's different things, but I mean, Demi Moore. Once I saw that film, it's like I immediately said that it's like nominee, like just
That
listed off
I
all the
know.
nominations I thought it would get, and I think it did. I think it did get all the nominations that I thought it would get. So I was very happy about that.
I was very happy, was very proud because after I saw the substance, I said, "Oh man, Debbie Moore needs to be nominated." I said she better get nominated. She probably won't win because for some reason, well, no, horror films get so disrespectful, especially when it comes to the Academy Awards. But at least she got nominated, so I was glad she won the Golden Globe though.
Mm-hmm. Very much so.
Okay.
And she won SAG too, didn't she?
And she won the SAG too.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, interesting question I have for you, Katie. What led you to create a YouTube channel? Were you actually doing podcasts or doing reviews, or what led you to make a YouTube channel about what you do?
I normally do minute video reviews. I started out writing reviews, and then I would post them on different social media platforms. And for some reason, they would just disappear. And if anyone knows anything about writing, when you do that and all of your hard work, all of your dedication, and going back and tweaking and all this stuff, when it just disappears and then you can't get it back, it's just very, very defeating. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to put this on video and put it out there. And I did. And I would do like minute reviews, very succinct, talk about it like I saw it and what my immediacy, usually after a screening, what it is I felt about it. And someone was telling me that I should put this on YouTube and like put it out there more. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. So then I started to do my end of day reviews of different genre film festivals, and what I saw, what I thought of the films, out of the theaters, reactions, Q&As that I go to when I'm at different screenings or at different film festivals, when you have like the director, producers, or anyone who's worked on the film when they're, and that's like a lot of stuff that people don't get to go to, that it's like, you may have this idea of why the film was like this. One, I never watch trailers, or I try to read or see as little as I can about it. It's even becoming that with film posters, because sometimes the things on the posters
will give the film away.
Yeah, they're giving it away, different things are giving away. It's like, oh, this is the most terrifying film of the year. It's like, no, I mean, it definitely was full of suspense, but as far as terrifying, no. And then, so I, want people to see some of my Q&As, so that it's like, if they have this preconceived notion, at least have the correct preconceived notion of like what the person was thinking of when they made the film. And usually, they don't have like big spoilers or anything like that. And in my reviews, I don't do big spoilers, because that's not what I want people. I want people going in, watching this film for the first time, experience this film for the first time, because everyone has their different thing, but don't go in with a preconceived notion of what this movie is going to be like, because then that usually leads to disappointment.
Yeah, 'cause I always try to make sure, because it's kind of hard to avoid trailers, and I appreciate the fact that you actually avoid trailers, because I think one of the most damning trailers of all was the Pet Cemetery remake, which definitely spoiled the whole twist of the film, which I thought would have been fantastic, but if it was for the goddamn trailer, everyone would have been shocked about that twist in the Pet Cemetery remake, because that would have just made everyone just like, wow, that's something really good and decent, even though the film wasn't that good. But if you kept that out, I don't know why the marketing team decided to release that trailer. And so I try my best not. I mean, I see trailers because I do trailer reactions on my channels because that's something that I like to do. Some of the trailers are pretty good, but they don't reveal anything. But unfortunately, to get too many trailers that unfortunately reveal too much.
Yeah. And that's like with the 2024, which I think, I don't know if it was actually called the most overwatched trailer, the most overplayed trailer of the year last year, Speak No Evil, with James McAvoy.
Yeah.
One of my things is I always go to press screenings. So with press screenings, they show nothing before the film. We just start the film, we start writing stuff, jotting down our notes. So there's certain times when I go to, screenings with friends and stuff like that, where they have the trailers. And one of those things, and I really liked the Speak No Evil, I believe it was 2022, from Denmark or Finland or something like that. Yeah. And seeing the 2024 trailer, one, you really don't need to see the film after the 2024. I mean, it is ridiculous how much they give away. So many spoilers, so many like huge revelations in the film that I was with friends and they turned to me and they're like, I don't think I need to see that movie. And I'm like, I don't think you do, because you basically saw the movie. You saw one of the biggest reveals in the film. But then they also showed the trailer for Longlegs. And to me, I was like, okay, why can't everyone just hire the people from Neon that made this trailer? And it's like, that's how it's done. I watched that Longlegs trailer. Like, I have no idea what this movie's about. Some guy in a car yelling, snow, a lady like up against a wall. I don't know. That's all I know. I have no idea what this movie's about. And that's great. It's like, let's do more movies, let's do more trailers like this so I can go in. I was excited about seeing the movie and not knowing anything about it.
Yeah, no, because one of the trailers I really like is the woman in the yard. We really don't know what's going on. All we know is we got this woman in the yard. She says, "Today's the day," and we see some weird shit happening. But that's it. We have no. That's why I said, "Oh man, I really can't wait to see this movie," because we absolutely have no idea what's happening in the film. That's why I like a trailer, because it gets you excited. You don't reveal anything at all. All we know is that this is black African American family living somewhere in South. Obviously, the husband's dead because of an accident that happened, and all of a sudden there's this weird figure sitting out in the yard. And we have no clue what she is. So I said, no, see, that's an effective trailer.
And that's Danielle Deadweiler, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting film. So I can't wait for that to come out. Who is your favorite final girl and why?
Ooh. I mean, that's one of the hardest questions because there are just so many. But one that I always loved, that I also think goes against the typical trope of a final girl, is Jenny from Friday the 13th Part 2.
Yeah, she's one of my favorites.
Because one, she is a fighter from the get-go. Two, and this is one that, rewatching it as I, was older, I didn't realize, like, rewatching it, she's profiling Jason Voorhees, and
yeah, I know,
yeah, and that's something that it's like, no one mainstream knew what profiling was, like in 1981 or something like that.
Yeah, no one, profile. Yeah, there was no such thing as about profiling at that particular. The first time we know anything about profiling was Silence of the Lambs.
Yeah, and to see her doing that in a bar while she's drinking, and then after she had already had sex with her boyfriend. So these are also things that, are like going against stuff that final girls never get to do and stuff like that. But yeah, it was the whole thing that she profiled Jason, that I was very, very impressed that she did that in a film that early on in the 80s. That it's like, again, looking back, I was like, wow, does anyone pick that up now? It's like, that's crazy. Like, seriously, how did no one look at that? It's like, she doesn't know what she's talking about. It's like, no, she's profiling him. Oh my God. But it's also the fact that they go through the whole thing that he's still alive and this and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know, which is a weird thing with a sequel anyway. But yeah, I would say Jenny. And, you know, the whole thing, like, she puts the decapitated mom's sweater on, and that had to have smelled so gross.
I know.
Because I'm always, whenever I watch films, I always go through like the five senses, because it's which is a blessing and a curse. Because when people are like, "Oh, this movie was great," I'm like, yeah, no, they would have been able to smell that woman who was living in the wall like 50 feet away. You got to be kidding me that you think that that could have happened. They're like, oh yeah, actually, now when you say that, I'm like, yeah, see, this is the thing.
You see, like that, because you have to understand, you know, the worst smell you ever want to smell is a decaying body.
Yeah. But the fact that she would like go along with that in that moment of fear, like the acting, I thought Jenny was great. And then, you know, the fact that she survives, I really would have liked, or if they ever do some sort of Friday the 13th, I would love to see some Friday the 13th film where it has like all the final girls like come together and like just pulverize Jason's body into like little mincemeat nothing. And then each one of them can, like, you know, turn it into dust, put it on a necklace, and like they have, you know, he'll never be able to come back together, and they have a piece of him that they, you know, put their mark on and stuff like that. Because I mean, most of them are, I believe, are still alive and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they're
the
all.
actual final girls are alive, and then, you know, the actual actresses that are playing them are supposed to be alive. So maybe someone needs to do that, considering there are so many Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I know. If they ever get to act together and create something, that would be a decent way to do that. My final question that I have for you, Katie, is if you were to create a horror film yourself, or if you ever wanted to write one, what kind of horror film would you write?
Ooh, I would. Well, there's one thing that one of the things growing up as a young girl and watching the horror films with my dad is that whenever there was a slasher film where the guy would keep getting up and stuff like that, one thing is, if I did a film where there was someone who was killing people for whatever reason and all that stuff, and you got them knocked down and all that, one thing that I would do is, if you had a number of survivors and they had them knocked down, they were just going to walk away, I would have one character do this, which I think would is that you cut off the killer's hands. And that's something that my dad always instilled in me. It's like, if you're ever in that situation and there's someone down, instead of walking away like these dumb people are, and this person gets away because then they can come back, it's like, you know, you have to cut off that person's hands. And then even if they come back, what are they gonna, they can't pick up anything and stuff like that. And I'm like, wow. I mean, again, I was probably 6 when he told me this, so probably not. But at the same time, it does make sense.
It makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it is a really, really smart thing to do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cut the hands off. It's like, shit, I can't do anything.
Yeah. And it's like, some people are like, well, wouldn't they feel that? It's like, I don't know. There's some weird rage-filled, like, shark human being who's like, all their you know, their main purpose in life is just to kill, like a shark on land. So do I care if they feel it? Do I want to put it into any thought, into any of their pain level? Not really. All I want to know is, like, you know what, I'm just going to take these, you don't need these digits, and I'm just going to walk away with your hands. And then there's also like different sci-fi things that I think about where, you know, just characters who are underestimated and stuff like that, where I don't know, I was in a film where the person who ended up surviving was someone that you would not think of right away. And I like that. I like when you like have the, oh, the innocent dream girl, and then there's, the class clown, and then there's the slut who usually gets killed first thing, and different things like that. So when you have those characters and maybe the one that you think is going to survive ends up dying right away, and changing that up, that's something that I always appreciate in horror films, because it's like, let's get rid of some of these tropes. Let's see where the cards may fall and see what happens.
Yeah. Yes. Just like with the blackening, we don't have to die first.
That's right. I love the blackening.
I know. Yeah. Yeah. Although it was a bit predictable as finding out when the killer was revealed, that kind of was a bit predictable. But I actually did enjoy the whole film. Yes, I thought it was a decent parody, if you want to call it that. Yeah. But I thought they had a nice idea.
Oh yeah, and the whole like the lady friends like no, I gotcha. It's like, do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, I do. And they're saying this like telepathically. It's like, I love that part.
Yeah. I thought that scene was funny. All right, Katie, I want to thank you very much for participating in Women in Horror Month. Thank you very much. Hopefully we will get back together again. If you would like to, I am part of a trope called the Horror Hangout live stream. If you want to be interested in joining us, I'll be glad to have you on. Everyone, I do have to warn you that a couple of my good friends, Jen and Trib, they could be a bit raunchy.
Well, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, thank you very much once again, Katie.
Thank you so much. And as I say in all my videos, when you see me, when you see them on my YouTube channel, if you see me at the movies, I'll be the blonde in front.
And my name is Lamont Smith, better known as the Horror Miser Monty G, and always remember that horror rules. All right, I'll see you in my next video, and be safe out there, everyone.